So welcome back to Scouting on Purpose. I took a little time off, took my troop to Philmont, did some studio rearranging, upgraded some hardware. All that took a little time, but the hardest part and the number one reason what took me so long to get back is content. There's just not a lot of topics out there that I feel is worthy enough for me to put on here. Now, I could use some help. If you could, whenever you subscribe to the channel, also go down to the comment section and drop in the comment a topic or a situation that you feel would be a good content, a good video that we can put out. Because chances are, if you have this issue or this is a topic you don't know much about, there may be other people out there the same way. I may not know, but I will reach out and I can do some research so that I can help you guys, because that's what this channel is for, helping leaders become better leaders. Someone once asked, can we take Scout-led too far? That is a tough question. It really depends. I mean, on one hand, we can do everything for the Scouts, have them show up and we sign the books. And on the other hand, we do nothing to assist them and then nothing happens. There's a fine line between that. And that's what we're talking about today. So where is that line? Well, that really depends on your Scouts. If your Scouts are up to the challenge of producing fundraisers and figuring out the logistics of where we're going to do and what we're going to do when we get there, then maybe let them take the lead. But if your Scouts are younger, maybe you're just started the troop or they're young in the troop, then you might want to have to assist them and guide them in that process. We'll get to that later. Take, for example, fundraisers. There are a lot of things that the Scouts shouldn't do, like the finances of it. Scouts don't need to be responsible for making the deposits and keeping the books. Maybe cashing the change or dealing with the customer interaction side, that's fine and encouraged, but Scouts shouldn't be handling the finances of the fundraiser. But what are we going to sell? Hey, we're going to sell manure or we're going to sell Christmas trees. That's 100% okay. They may need help finding resources because sometimes the adults have more resources than the Scouts. But if they can handle it, let them handle it. As far as like where to go and how to set up, that may be up to the adult because the Scouts have a lot on their plate as it is. But if your Scouts can handle it, let them try it. Now that would be for an older troop where you have your 16 and up Scouts. What about those troops that just started and the Scouts are all 15 and below? You may have to step in and do things. You don't have to do it all for them, but you can guide them in that process. Asking leading questions. Hey, what are we going to sell? Where are we going to get that from? Okay, great answers. I'll reach out to those people and get that information for you. Now on the campouts, if your older Scouts are present and they're capable and up to the task, then planning the entire campout is 100% something that they should be doing. In fact, it's highly encouraged. Everything from disagreements to conflict resolution, these are all leadership skills that we want the Scouts to learn. What after dinner activities are we going to do? Are we going to do skits? Are we going to do campfire or both? And let's not forget those thorns and roses. If your Scouts are too young, then you may need to give them an agenda or an itinerary and say, hey, this is a guideline that I want you to follow until you learn to develop these planning skills. But let's say you do have a young troop. How do you go about planning a camp out with them without completely taking over? Best thing to do would be to get a camp out planning checklist. Sit down with them at the meeting before and go over the duty roster. Wash station, cat hole, cooking station, who's doing what, who's getting the water. Just because this is scout led does not mean you can't facilitate, especially with that younger troop. After all, if they don't know what they're supposed to do, how can they do it? But what must an adult do? Well, for one, drive. Guide to Safe Scouting does not allow the scouts to drive themselves to campouts. They can drive themselves to the meeting, but that's about it. So if you need to go to summer camp or just weekend camp, the adult has to drive. Finances. The scout should not be running the bank account. I mean, this is their troop, but that money belongs to the chartered organization. And you don't want a scout to be in charge of the money. Trailer maintenance. Now, you could tie this into a merit badge or to facilitate it, but when it comes down to it, the adults need to be responsible for what gets done on that trailer. Now, I'm not talking about cleaning it out or organizing it. I'm talking about replacing the brakes, changing the bearings, getting the tires replaced. The scouts don't need to be doing that. The adults should be doing that. And I think the biggest thing that the adult should be doing is stepping in and ensuring that the Guide to Safe Scouting is being implemented and used. A scout will always choose to do what is fun over what is safe. Sure, 20-foot rock cliff, let's dive in and see what we can do. But that's not really safe, is it? And then safety float, a scout will go canoe by themselves, even though they should be using a buddy. But the number one thing is stepping in when things are getting out of hand. Scouts should learn conflict resolution, but sometimes an adult has to step in. Sometimes the scouts don't understand that a scout may be fighting a particular battle. You don't know what's going on in their personal life. And sometimes the scouts don't realize that their words hurt more than they actually do. So, can we take scout led too far? Absolutely. We could sit in our camp chairs and do absolutely nothing, saying this is a scout led program and never do anything that a scout can do. Sometimes nothing happens. So if your unit's not doing anything and you're sitting around asking yourself, well, why are advancements not being done? And why is this wash station look like it does? Well, maybe they lack the guidance from their older scouts. And maybe us adults should be stepping in to guide those older scouts to be the leaders in the troop. See, I like to say that the scoutmaster's job is to control the troop through the SPL. And every year or every 6 months, you get a new SPL. A new person to mold and mentor into being a leader. And if we don't allow them to make mistakes under our guidance, then they're not growing and maturing as leaders. But also, if we're doing everything for them, they don't learn that failure is a great teacher. And they don't learn that they can do hard things. So if it's simple enough and you feel like your scout can handle it, then go ahead and allow the scout to lead. But if it's a big complicated item, you may need to step in and take some leadership and show them a path that they can follow. So can we take scout led too far? Well, after thinking about it, yeah, we can take scout led too far. There's a fine line between sitting around and not doing anything and let the failure happen. Failure is a great teacher. And doing everything for them because we don't want them to have a failure. We want them to succeed. What that looks like is completely up to your unit. And only you leaders can decide which path is the best. Do I need to show them the way? Do I need to explain how things work and demonstrate it? Or do I need to sit back and just guide and enable them?